Welcome to T-News 9 channel. We're back with the next chapter of the 190 IQ Killer. Chapter 6. The Echo in the Dark. The tunnel investigation dragged late into the night. When the scene was finally cleared, a bone-tired Ethan walked alone through the dim service corridor, replaying every single detail in his mind. The noise, the shadows, the silence that followed. Two so-called accidents, but Ethan knew better. These were two masterpieces of murder. Marcus Hale's perfectly timed fall, Nolan Price's shocking electrocution. Both were crafted with surgical precision, leaving almost no trace, designed to look like tragic misfortunes. Ethan paused before a wall of emergency pipes, staring at their neat, almost obsessive alignment. Everything was so deceptively orderly, so familiar. It reminded him of someone, a ghost from his past. He ran his gloved finger along the cables connected to the main capacitor, checking for any signs of abnormality. Nothing. No obvious signs of tampering. It was clean. Too clean. This only reinforced his suspicions. Kay wasn't here to kill him. Not yet, anyway. He was here to speak, to send a message in a language only they understood. Suddenly, a whisper of motion echoed from behind him. A sound so faint, it was almost imaginary. In a flash, Ethan spun around, his gun raised, heart pounding against his ribs. Nothing. Just the hollow, empty stretch of the tunnel swallowing his own ragged breath. He was alone, or was he? His eyes scanned the concrete floor, and that's when he saw it. A tiny, almost invisible object lay in a hidden corner. It looked harmless, insignificant. He knelt for a closer look. It was a micro-spring, the tiny kind used in old mechanical timers. This wasn't dropped accidentally. It was placed, left intentionally for him to find. A breadcrumb, a clue. Ethan carefully picked it up and pocketed it, the cold metal a heavy weight in his hand. Kay wasn't just challenging him anymore. He was guiding him, nudging him down a dark, twisting path that Ethan wasn't sure he wanted to follow. But he knew he had no choice now. He was already in too deep. The game was afoot, and the city was their chessboard. The pieces were moving, the traps were set, and Kay was already playing 3 moves ahead. The hunt had just begun. The tension is building, and Ethan is being pulled further into Kay's twisted world. What do you think Kay's next move will be? Chapter 7. A face behind the mask. The next morning, sunlight sliced through the blinds of the precinct office. Detective Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose, feeling the strain as he sifted through a mountain of old case files. Every single page he turned, every report he scanned, painted a clearer portrait of a ghost. This is a killer who never leaves fingerprints, never leaves clues unless he wants others to solve the case as if it were a game he has the right to end. And most horrifyingly, he never repeats his method of killing. He was a phantom who didn't kill with conventional weapons. He killed with cause and effect. Ramos, his partner, leaned against Ethan's desk, a cup of coffee in hand. "You look like you're trying to resurrect the dead man." "I'm trying to reconstruct how he committed the crime," Ethan replied, his eyes fixed on the file. "And what's that?" Ramos asked, intrigued. Ethan's voice was low, intense. "A man who believes murder is an art form." Ramos let out a long, slow breath. "Graves, you ever thought maybe you're giving this guy too much credit? Calling him an artist?" Ethan finally looked up from the papers, his gaze sharp and unwavering. "No, I think I'm not giving him enough." He pulled out a profile he'd been painstakingly assembling. "A fallen assembling, a fallen, enough, I'm giving him enough." He pulled out a profile he'd been painstakingly assembling. I'm giving him enough. Psychological sketch built from fragmented clues. It read like a blueprint for a monster. Methodical intelligence, an obsession with order, a complete detachment from human emotion, ritualistic behavior, And those bizarre symbolic markers, the smiling mask and the single white Lego brick left at every scene. Ramos frowned, his brow furrowed in confusion. So this guy wears a mask for every kill? Not for the kill, Ethan corrected him, his voice barely a whisper. For the performance. The room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Most killers hide their faces out of fear of being caught or for simple anonymity. But Kay, their ghost, was different. He wore the mask because it wasn't a disguise. The mask was his real face, the true one.
Chapter 8 of the 190 IQ Killer, titled The Smile on the Bridge. Late afternoon, and the city's hum was shattered by an unexpected call. A jogger, breathless and shaken, reported a strange sight on Helverton Bridge. A man was standing right at the edge of the bridge, wearing a smiling mask. She thought he was trying to commit suicide, so she called the police, but he ... disappeared. Detective Ethan was already in his car before the dispatch report even finished echoing through the radio. The emergency coordinator's voice boomed over the radio, reporting a critical situation that could not be ignored. As he arrived, Helverton Bridge loomed over the dark river, its massive steel beams humming a low, mournful tune with the wind. The patrol officers were present at the scene, their expressions a mixture of confusion and doubt. They'd searched, they'd looked, but they'd found nothing. Not a body, not a clue, not even a footprint. It was as if the laughing man had been a ghost, but Ethan knew better. Ghosts didn't leave ripples. He began working in his own way, a slow, meticulous walk along the pedestrian railing. His eyes, trained to see what others missed, scanned every bolt, every pipe, every tension cable. He wasn't just looking, he was hunting for the imperfection, the single note out of key in this symphony of steel and concrete. At first, nothing. Everything looked normal, worn by weather and time. And then, he saw it, tucked away on the underside of a thick support beam, taped with deliberate care. It was placed where only someone actively searching, someone who knew what they were looking for, would ever notice. A small, postcard-sized photograph. Ethan's gloved fingers carefully peeled it from the cold steel. His heart began to pound a heavy rhythm against his ribs. The image was horrifyingly familiar, yet disturbingly new. It was Marcus Hale, his body crumpled on the pavement after his fatal fall. But this wasn't a police photo. The angle was completely different, taken from a vantage point no official camera had. It was taken before the first responders, before the yellow tape, before the world knew he was gone. At the bottom of the photo, a message scrawled in elegant, looping handwriting sent a shiver down his spine. Every fall begins long before the step. And below it, a single, chilling initial. K. Ethan's pulse spiked, adrenaline flooding his veins. K was taunting him, playing a game only they understood. Just as the realization hit him, a sound echoed from behind. A laugh. It was light, almost musical, but utterly chilling and not quite human. He whipped around, his hand instinctively going to his weapon. The bridge was empty. The patrol officers were distant figures at the far end. There was nothing. Only the ceaseless whisper of the wind remained, and something else. Down on the walkway, lodged between the cracks of the weathered concrete, was a single, pristine white Lego brick, a calling card, a promise. I was here.
Chapter 9 of the 190 IQ Killer, titled The Next Target. Ethan brought the photo of the previous victim, Marcus Hale, to his desk. He stared at the cryptic inscription written on the back for nearly an hour. Every fall begins long before the step. Ethan knew this wasn't a taunt. It was a clue, a piece of the puzzle. He dove deep into Marcus Hale's past, searching for anything that could connect to the killer. He sifted through political deals, financial disputes, business rivals, and personal enemies. But none of it fit. The killer, known only as K, didn't kill out of simple anger or revenge. No, his murders were acts of architecture, each one meticulously designed. Then, Ethan found it. Buried in old case files was a lawsuit concerning faulty railings in one of Marcus Hale's buildings. A young woman had fallen to her death. The settlement had been quick, quiet, and buried under a mountain of legal jargon. The young woman's father was a man named Nolan Price. Ethan's mind raced. 2 victims, 1 connection. This wasn't just revenge. It was a thematic link. Kay wasn't choosing his targets at random. He was weaving them together, creating a macabre storyline, a terrifying design. Under his breath, Ethan muttered, "You're telling a story with bodies?" Just as the realization hit him, his partner Ramos burst into the room, out of breath. "Graves, we got a new call. Possible fatality downtown." It was an accident. A billboard collapse. Ethan froze. Billboard. Another theme. Another chapter in Kay's horrifying story. He grabbed his coat, his mind already connecting the dots. "Kay's not killing strangers," he said, his voice grim. "He's killing pieces of a narrative only he understands." Ramos, confused, looked at him and asked, "So who's next?" Ethan's answer was a chilling whisper, barely audible. "Whoever fits the next page." What do you think Kay's story is about? Chapter 10 of the 190 IQ Killer, titled The Billboard Fall. Downtown was pure chaos. Sirens blared, yellow tape cordoned off the scene, and a massive crowd was held back by a line of uniformed officers. Right in the middle of a busy intersection, a giant billboard frame had ripped free from its moorings and crashed down, completely crushing a taxi. The driver, sadly, didn't make it. Nearby, paramedics were carefully bagging the body of another victim, a woman in her mid-30s who had been walking by. Accident, the word rippled through the onlookers, a common assumption in a city full of old infrastructure. But Ethan knew better. He slipped through the police line, his eyes scanning every detail. Crouching beside the mangled metal frame, he saw it immediately. The bolts. They were rusted, but this wasn't the slow work of time and weather. The corrosion was accelerated, forced by a specific chemical agent. It was the same signature he'd seen before on the weakened railing with the fried power cables. This was Kay's work, without a doubt. But this time, something was different. As he ran his fingers along the cold steel, he felt a small irregularity. There, wedged deep inside a hollow beam, was a tiny, precisely folded note. His heart pounded as he carefully unfolded it. Inside, a single, chilling sentence was written. "Coincidence is only chaos someone forgot to arrange." And that wasn't all. Wrapped within the paper was a small, unmistakable fragment of a smiling white mask. Ethan's throat went dry. Kay was escalating. He was done leaving simple clues like bricks. Now he was leaving pieces of his persona, a direct taunt. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught his eye. He looked up, his head snapping toward a rooftop across the street. And there it was. For just a split second, silhouetted against the darkening sky, he saw him, a figure dressed in black, wearing a white mask frozen in an impossible, mocking smile. Then, as quickly as he appeared, he was gone. Kay wasn't just a ghost in the machine anymore. He was watching. What does this message mean? What will Kay do next now that he's shown his face, or at least his mask? We'll find out in the next chapter. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. Thanks for tuning in to T News 9.